Almost there. Okay, you're live, Margaret, on YouTube.
Okay, I'm calling this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Waterville Valley Board of Selectmen, our regular meeting on Wednesday, March 17th at 3 o'clock. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm going to read the electronic notification here. This is our checklist to ensure meetings are compliant with the right to know law during the state of emergency. As chair of the Board of Selectmen, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing both YouTube and Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number, 603-236-4730, or by clicking on the following website address, www.watervillevalley.org, or texting to 603-254-6708, or making use of the chat box if you're on Zoom with us. B, we are providing public notice of all the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have been provided on the website of the town at www.watervillevalley.org. C, we're providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-236-4730 or email townofwv@watervillevalley.org. And I'll just make a note here that if for any reason you're having difficulty getting into the Zoom meeting, it's because we are screening people as they come on so that we can try and avoid being hacked again. So if for some reason we don't recognize you, you give that call to that number, 236-4730, and tell them who you are and what your handle is, and we will let you in. Okay, we are also, will adjourn the meeting if the public is unable to access this meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. This is Margaret Turner. I'm chair of the Board of Selectmen on Waterville Valley.
Rich Rita here, vice chair alone.
Mike Aronson alone.
Okay. Privilege of the floor, number one. Do we have anybody that wants to bring something up? No? Well, we'll have a privilege of the floor, number two, towards the end of the meeting. Approval of the minutes from the February meetings, 2/4, 2/17, and 2/10. We all received these minutes to look at ahead of time and provided comment. Does anybody have anything else to add to the latest version?
So I've got just a couple minor changes. I think, let me get to it. Let me see, February 17th. There was one minor change. Yes, line 54, Sharon. You had made the I think you made the correction, but after result, I think you can remove the TO.
Yep, I saw that one.
And I think also there was one other minor correction I asked for that you had done, but one thing still needed. So going back to we're doing all three, right?
Mm-hmm.
February 10th,
Good, how are you?
line 78. I think we want to say the outcome was seen as unlikely.
Unlikely, yes.
Yeah, the outcome being repealing and selling it outright, if that's plain to anyone reading it.
Mhm.
Other than that, I'm good.
Okay, great. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February meetings of 2/4, 2/10, and 2/17?
This
This
is
is
Mike. I'll
Rich.
make that motion.
Oh, Rich will second that motion then.
All right, all those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay. Financial reports. Anything on expenditures and revenues someone wants to talk about? I see we're using our legal services quite a bit. You're muted, Mark.
Sorry about that. Some of that may be reimbursed. We have to work with the planning board and see if there are any costs that we have incurred so far that were specific to an application. But you know, if there were, we'll be reimbursed. But most of that was getting ready for town meeting and that sort of thing. So.
Okay, great. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to the department head updates and our COVID update. Let's start with the COVID update.
Yep, I provided
Yep.
an information sheet for the board, and maybe Chris or Dave can comment on the recent changes to the COVID-19 guidelines at the state level, which were made last Thursday. And this is our first opportunity to talk about them. So I don't know, Chris, Dave, anyone want to jump in and comment about those?
I don't have a lot to add. I mean, obviously Craig Larson put out a notice about the clubhouse, the golf clubhouse having a minor outbreak there. And he did the right thing and shut down for a week, did some deep cleaning. Overall, the hospitalizations in the state have gone down. I believe there's about 60 to 70 hospitalizations. Cases are going up a little bit, but that's attributed to, I believe, colleges. I know Colby Sawyer College in New London has a pretty substantial number there. Vaccines are going well. And again, a lot of our staff are down at the fixed site in Plymouth helping out. So that's going well. I'm sure that as the weather gets better and as more and more people are vaccinated, I believe our total case number is going to go down. But other than that, I don't have much to report on the COVID side of things. For department update, we're still going strong with our projects as far as getting ready for our next season being the summer. We're working with Brooke and the camps, and we're starting to talk about the fishing derby and 4th of July and all of those fun things that we missed last year. And hopefully we can get those going to some extent this year. Colby Morrison's in his EMT class now. That's going well. We're just moving forward. So unless anybody has any particular questions, we can move on.
Okay, thank you. Brooke.
Hi there. So we've been quite busy around here. Our phones are down at the moment, and we're trying to get that fixed up. But we did have a successful opening day of camp registration for our residents and taxpayers on Monday. And I do believe that everybody who wanted the certain weeks got what they wanted. I think there were just a very few exceptions. And so overall, it was very smooth. And now we look forward to opening up the remaining spots tomorrow for whoever else would like those. And we're happy that we're about 75% full. So, and that was kind of evenly spread, which is nice. So we do have quite a few spots to give to some of the regional folks and non-taxpayers that might be interested. So that is good. We're getting ready for our Easter egg hunt, which is on April 3rd. That's going to be town square this year. We're dividing the groups into age groups. So the younger kids will be separate from the older kids. So I think that will help reduce the crowds. And we're doing that online registration as well. The staff here was able to participate in the SAU 48 vaccination last Saturday. So we all received our first shot, which is great. And we are, I think, eligible to start planning for our summer staff to be vaccinated. If we already know who they are and they're employed, which there are many returning staff, we can have them start that process. So we're looking into that right now. We are in the middle of hiring, so we are looking to fill certain positions. We posted that on our website, on Facebook, and we'll also be reaching out to specific people about certain positions. I think that's about all right now. The only other thing that we kind of have going on is we're working on not the circuit loop that Marvin Weinberger has sort of been helping and has asked us to sponsor, the town sponsor, which you agreed to do. But separately, Brenda Conklin has been helping to formulate an existing, 75 miles of a loop that could actually be talked about and put on our website now. So we're hoping to do that ASAP so that we can give people an opportunity to do kind of a bigger chunk of hiking, which a lot of people seem to be interested in. So that's kind of exciting and hoping to get that off the ground. And as Chris mentioned, Dave and I met to talk fishing derby, and we're going to be starting the planning of that with the help from Eric Amaro to sort of lead that effort from the rec department side. And that's what I have for now.
So Brooke, will there be another patch for the 75-mile loop?
Well, I hadn't even thought of that, Margaret, but maybe there should be.
Yeah,
Certainly is not hard to get a patch done.
right.
Well, get it made, I should say, not qualify for it. That's a little more difficult to do the miles.
Yeah. Okay, Dylan.
Could I just ask Brooke a quick question? Brooke, I noticed that yesterday, Tim again advertised in the community forum the camps that they'll be running this summer. I take it from our earlier conversation, the conversations you had with the emails you've had with the select board, that there was no prior consultation on any of this, just to coordinate, to make things better for both programs.
Yeah, we really didn't have any conversations. I don't know how long they've been planning to do it, because so it may be that they just came up with the idea recently. I'm not sure. The way I found out about it was Matt Hesser had reached out to me regarding some photos and marketing material that he was looking for, and he started out by he assumed that I had already heard about it. He said, "I'm sure you've heard by now, blah blah blah." So I hadn't heard about it, but it's a very different model. I mean, they're going to be around town and doing a lot of the same stuff that we do, but it will be an overnight situation. And I haven't seen any pricing, but I expect it's going to be at a very different price point.
You don't foresee, from what you've heard, you don't foresee any impact on our summer camps?
I do think that there's a real need to coordinate. I have reached out to Lisa Dudo to sort of explain and offer our coordinating assistance because of all the different camps that go on in town. And I've reached out to her. That was, at the beginning of the week, I think, and I haven't heard back from her, but it will become important to coordinate in terms of, I know they're planning on using like the boats because I saw that in their material. And, you know, of course, the beach, you know, we have groups that reach out to me, like Campton Recreation, for example. They have reached out to me because they have a specific date that they want to bring a group of kids over. So we're going to charge them a small fee to use the beach, because we have to have that in mind so that our group of 60 plus kids don't go down to the beach on that same day. So yes, it will be important that we coordinate efforts, but I think there's still time to do that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I think it's also confusing for people when they see, they don't know who to call, two different camp programs.
It's
Yeah.
very confusing for people, but we have been fighting that battle, I think, for a long time. People think
Okay.
we're the, you know, the Adventure Center or the WMAC or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of education, and we did receive a lot of calls when that notice went out here at the rec department.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Yeah, from what Tim said on Tuesday, they really are at beginning stages. They put something out on the website just to find out if people were interested, and I guess 50 plus people responded. But when you think about the fact they were going to be providing 3 meals a day and lodging in addition to all the activities, that price point is going to be quite a bit different from ours.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're trying to get the lodging filled too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so Dylan, we'll move on to you now. See, I didn't make you go last again. Can't hear you, Dylan. No, you're muted. But when you weren't muted, I couldn't hear you either. Yeah, Dylan, we can't hear you. Right now it shows that you're muted.
Now you're on mute.
There you are.
Nope.
But we still can't hear you, even though you're not muted.
Turn up your microphone, Dylan.
Is your audio enabled?
One of
Why
your-
don't you go in and out? Why don't you leave the meeting, come
Yeah,
back
leave
in,
the
see if
meeting,
that'll
come
Come
resolve.
back in, we'll talk to Jim. Hey, Jim,
Hi, Margaret.
we can
How's
hear
everybody?
you. Go ahead.
Let's see. We posted the roads last week. I'm sure you've seen the signs.
Yeah.
We still have some construction going on around town, but I've been able to work with the contractors so that let them in early in the morning and then get them off the roads as the temperatures allow. So there's that. We did have a hydrant leak over at the academy, just across from the library. So we'll have to attend to that once the weather allows. We were able to get it shut off, which is a plus. So that was a good thing. The guys have been going around. We've been doing some pothole repairs. We started that today, filling those in because it's almost 50 degrees. So tomorrow looks like another good day. So we'll do some more. Doing some light vehicle maintenance, nothing major. Had a few dumpster repairs that we've had. So we've gotten on those. And then other than that, it's, just waiting for spring to break so we can do other things as we see them.
Okay.
Dylan may talk to well number 2, but I'll just let you know that we did have the Parco valve adjusted and inspected again, and we've run well number 2. We've had the chem feed pumps synced to the pump and the Parco valve. And all the new chemical containment vessels are in place. So we're ready to go. So we're planning on checking SCADA to make sure that is operable with well number 2, and we'll put it in the rotation as soon as we can.
Okay. And as far as we know, when you turn it on, it's going to work, right?
It did the other day.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So
Hey, Jim, if I may, I can now see, I think we all can, the damage done by the car running up on the guardrail by the athletic club. What's the cost for repairing that, and when do you think you guys will be able to get at that?
that will be something, Rich, that we're gonna need some new posts, it looks like. I won't know until I get, until the ice there melts down to ground level. But it'd probably be something that we have to call a guardrail repair people in.
Okay.
And I'll take a look at doing that and try to do that at the same time that we replace the guardrails on the West Branch Bridge.
But this cost will be borne by the miscreant, right?
The potentially can be borne by the miscreant, depending upon their financial situation and insurance.
Okay.
Which I understand may be an issue.
Yes, it's an issue we'll talk about later.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Jim,
thank you.
are we running any water tests on well 3?
We haven't done a test on well 3 for some time now, Mike.
Yeah, do you think it would be in our interest to see, just to get a baseline to see what's going on out there?
I think that once we get the snow melt down,
Yeah,
I think that'd be a good time to pull a sample and test it.
okay.
Just
And how are
because
you-
of the infiltration.
And how are you sitting on leftover sand and salt from the season? Because it seems like we're ending kind of early this year, or is that my imagination or wishful thinking?
Wishful thinking.
Okay,
But we're sitting pretty well right now.
Okay. Dylan, can we hear you now? Nope, we can't hear you. We cannot hear you.
Dylan can come over into my office and take my seat for a minute.
Okay.
Call him, buzz him, because he dropped off, Jim.
Oh, did he? It's because he's on the phone.
or maybe Jim can start us on what happened with the issue we had with the system and the repairs that they were going to try to do last week. The leak.
Yeah, Dylan's kind of been the point man on that. I've been getting the emails along with Mark. We worked with Joe Ducharme at Hoyle Tanner to get things coordinated with a couple of different companies. What we'd like to do is get into the wet well and take some valves out and replace them, replace one of the pumps. And at the same time, we would like to flush the effluent out of the line leading up to Lagoon 1. Flush that and camera it and see what we can find out from that. That would be the first and best thing to do rather than start digging.
So those
Right
people
now-
haven't been up here at all, the people who were supposed to be here last week?
No, we've got one company coming up to take a look. He does not want to enter into a contract. He's given us a kind of a ballpark estimate, but he does want to put his eyes on what the work is going to really entail, so that he has a better idea.
From
we're
a
looking-
visual inspection, has it slowed down or is it still in the same shape it was when it breached?
Last I knew, it was still about the same as when we first noticed it.
Is that any better?
There you go.
There you are.
So where were we at?
Wastewater
Yeah,
treatment.
Dylan, we were just talking about our latest issue with the wastewater treatment system. And Jim was saying you're the point person on that. So you want to give us an update?
Sure. So we've been in communication with Apex Construction out of, I think, Somersworth, New Hampshire. They have given us an estimate. Again, they haven't been on site yet to give us a really detailed estimate, but they're estimating about $22,000 to drain and clean the wet well, replace isolation valve and a check valve, as well as a raw wastewater pump that we already have on hand. And while that's being done, a secondary company that's going to be a subcontractor for them is going to camera the line to look for any issues or pitting or anything that could be causing this issue. What's not included in that price, though, is the excavation work and replacing or repairing of the existing pipe. So that'll be a Lee Johnston or Dana White job for the excavation, I would imagine. And the piping, we'll have to figure out if it's something that we can line, pulling different material pipe through the inside of it because of the material of the existing pipe, or if it's more beneficial to cut and replace. We'll have to decide that at that point in time when we figure out what's going on, or if it needs to be cut out and replaced.
So when they use the camera, that'll kind of determine whether the pipe needs to be replaced?
Correct. Yeah. So we'll drain that line out. We're going to isolate. We're planning on isolating that line, draining out that whole section, and then they can run a camera up and down it and look for any sort of holes or pitting or anything that could cause a leak.
Okay. And no disruption to service while all of this is being done?
No. So the goal is to have the last manhole before it goes, the wastewater comes into the facility. There's going to be a plug put into a line, and there will be a pump that pumps directly out of that manhole and up to the first lagoon. So that way there will be no interruption of service, and the company can perform the work needed without having any issues with bypass or water coming through it as they're trying to fix these things. So that'll be good as long as everything goes according to plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions for Dylan? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for your updates.
Margaret,
The next,
from admin, we received 3 abatement requests by the March 1st deadline. So we will be processing those.
okay. All right. So let's go on to calendar review. We have our 2021 bond budget hearing on March 24th, 5:30 at the conference center, and it will also be on YouTube,
Yes.
correct? Okay. And our next
Question.
meeting,
Is that
Yeah.
also, is that Zoom and YouTube or just YouTube?
Just YouTube, and the chat function will be open for people to provide questions via YouTube.
And is there a limit to how many people we can get into the room? If it's not going to happen, but I'm just trying to.
Well, we're targeting getting up to 100 chairs in there, spaced out.
Yeah.
We're going to be working with the conference center to get that actual setup. But we're looking at groups of 2 pairs of chairs that are socially distanced so that couples can sit together. And then having folks, at least when they're moving between the chairs, with fully masked up and everything. But the chairs will be spread out enough.
Will there be someone professionally videographing this and putting it out there? Or are we just going to count on a stationary camera?
We're doing a stationary camera for this version. The professional video and audio guy will be at the arena when we're doing town meeting.
okay. Okay. All right, so then our next selectmen's meeting is going to be on March 24th, immediately following the bond budget hearing, not before, right?
Yeah, I think that would work better because then you can make any decisions on making final changes in the budget or in the warrant, and then we can start producing the final documents for the town report and all that.
Okay, all right. And then we also, there's a planning board meeting on Thursday, April 8th at 8 a.m. And I assume that's on Zoom.
That will be a Zoom meeting.
Okay. All right, new business. Mark sent us slides for the bond budget hearing. We all had a chance to comment. Anybody have anything else to add?
Good job, Mark.
Yeah,
Thank you. The COVID-19 addition that I made in version 2 is okay? Covers enough?
I think so.
Okay, Rich, you had a comment about line 4199.
Right. This could be a time to bring it up, or it could be a privilege of the floor too for Reggie. I'm looking for the slide number. Believe it is.
I have the slides if you want me to.
Right.
bring them up. Do you want me to share?
No, I don't think you need to. It's just that line 4199 is other general government, and one of the items under that line item is the Historical Society. And so this is on me, I think, but I have Reggie here to explain from her perspective. We are going to give the Historical Society $2,500 this year.
Correct.
They thought we had agreed to $10,000 a year starting next year. It wasn't a one-time setup cost.
Oh, okay.
So I missed that when we were going through this. So that's on me. I can't recall precisely when we first discussed this, if we had shifted from agreeing to accepting a $10,000 a year or not. So I wanted to discuss that. We can discuss it in the context of the slides, or we can do it as a separate item, Margaret, whichever way you feel is better.
When we did the $10,000, was that a special warrant article last year?
No, I don't think so. I think it, well, I don't know.
Reggie, do you recall?
My impression was that it was a line item that was going to be repeated every single year, that last year was our first year and it was reduced last year as a result of the COVID situation, but that every year we would be getting $10,000 and we would just be a line item on the budget as the Ray Center and WVAIAR.
Right.
That was my impression. That's what we had asked for, and that's what I assumed, possibly wrongfully, but that's what I assumed we were getting.
Judy or Sharon, can you look at last year's town report and just tell us if there was a separate warrant article?
It wasn't a separate warrant article. There was a separate warrant article for a $10,000 appropriation, but it was for the Ray Center.
Okay.
I think we'd have to go back through minutes to find out specifically
No,
about the historical.
I'm 99% sure it was in the operating budget.
Oh, it definitely was. Yeah, it's in the operating budget.
Okay, good, very good.
Okay, so where did the 2,500 come from? Do we know?
Well, we reduced it during our budget discussions up until this point. It was reduced because I took it that it was a one-time thing, and as Rich just explained, that was an incorrect understanding. The desire of the Historical Society has been that we bump it back to the 10,000. And in fairness, we did not give them 10,000
Right.
in
Right.
2020. So,
I think we reduced to 5.
Right.
Yes.
yeah, we
Yeah,
reduced
5.
it to 5. So there was 2,500 less than, or 5,000 less than they were told we were appropriating last year. So,
Well,
So Margaret, Mike, do you remember our conversation? I honestly don't. I don't know if we want to go back and look at the
I
minutes.
was under the impression it was 10,000 one time for the archivist to come in and start working on getting everything together and sealing things and preserving things. I thought it was one time, and I thought it was very graceful for them to accept less money due to COVID. But I don't remember this at all being a $10,000 a year in perpetuity line item
Right.
on the town.
We have the flexibility, if you want, to put it as a special warrant article so that you can have the conversation with the town.
I
If-
think we would need to.
If the desire is for this to be a permanent, well, you know,
Right.
a regular budget item, then we can make it a special warrant article. And you can have that conversation and then go with what the town wants to do. And we can put it back in at $10,000. The bottom line impact is, you know, it's going to go to what, $1,300 in reduction instead of an $8,800 reduction. So
Yeah.
Okay,
it's on the tax rate impact, it's pennies. So
yeah. I think we should probably have a special warrant article just to get it established and clear with everyone.
And then be
that's-
done with it if it's approved, you know, then.
Right.
right, then we can continue to put it in at $10,000 a year. Yep.
In the operating budget each year. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that okay, Reggie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
good with
just,
that. Reggie?
that was just my understanding from the beginning, is that that's the way it was. Maybe it was misworded or something else, but that my understanding was that every year we would get the $10,000, that we were a line item on the budget.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. All
okay.
right, so Judy, we can adjust what we're submitting to the state, and we'll come up with another warrant article. You want this to be, right now it's new tax money. Do you want it to be from fund balance, or do you want it to be from new taxes?
Does it really
Again,
matter? I mean.
It's a minor
So
amount
small.
in terms of the,
Well, if it's going forward and going to be something that's going to be done every year going forward forever, it should be tax dollars. I
okay,
believe.
very good. Yep.
Mhm.
All
Yeah,
right.
and I
Still
think we
end
just
up
have
with
to
an
have
excess, right.
the conversation so everyone's on the same page. And maybe the Historical Society can give a forecast of what the money is going to be used for in the next few years. Maybe it's going to be put aside for the building fund and other stuff, and the rest. It's just people, I think, are going to want to know.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a very good idea. And so we will have to redo the budget information and change the actual warrant for the budget hearing next week.
Mark, can I give you an idea about just why don't you increase revenues by building permits or something like that to offset it? Because I'm pretty sure we're going to surpass that next year.
Well, we can do it with motor vehicle registration fees right now.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to have a bunch of
Uh-huh.
offsets and revenues coming up. So
Am we missing something, Judy? You're shaking your head no.
I noticed that building permit revenues are up already for the year. We
Yeah.
took in a
So
big
either
permit,
one.
so.
Yeah.
and they're going to be a bunch more.
All right, very good. We will adjust those revenues and there won't be any impact on the bottom line. But we will still update all the information on
Of course.
Okay.
Okay,
And Mark, you saw my note that on that slide where we're talking about wastewater treatment plant, there were two options
yeah,
of how to treat. I only saw one listed on my slide.
yeah, I don't know why that got cut off on yours. I'm looking at it right now and it definitely has both of them. And I will make sure that when we're doing the presentation that they're both there, Margaret.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you for pointing that out.
All right.
Department heads, well, I guess, can I take just 1 second while we have department heads here? Because I've sent copies of those slides. Is there anything that you're questioning or? Okay, if we're good, oh yeah, go ahead, Brooke.
In terms of the budget, for the operating budget?
Yeah,
Or
just
just
on the slides themselves.
Oh, yeah, no. I was just thinking about the changes for the revenue. For
Yeah, we
camps.
will, you and I will get together on that and we'll go over that. Yep.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be any impact on the actual bottom line by the time we get done all of the changes we just talked about.
Okay. All right. Now, Mark, I didn't print out the ZBA and Conservation Commission appointments. So I either need to see them up, or you can just tell us what they are.
I can do either one. Hold on just a second here and let me.
I've got it here if you want me to just read it.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
For the ZBA, Jean Mullen is requesting that a Miss Patricia Gaudette be appointed as an alternate member of the ZBA. There are 3 members whose terms are expiring this spring: Barry Fish, Tom Myrick, and Paul Saulnier. They need to be reappointed.
Okay.
So I would make the motion if I can to
Yep.
appoint Miss Gaudette and reappoint Mr. Fish, Myrick, and Saulnier.
Appointing Ms. Gaudette as an alternate.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Can I have a second on that?
This is Rich. I will second that motion.
Okay. Let's take a vote. All in favor? Margaret, aye.
Rich, I.
Mike, aye.
Okay.
And I
Thank
have
you.
the Conservation Commission appointments,
Yep.
if you like. What they are requesting is Mr. Ed Lucenti be made a full member and open up an alternate position. With Ed's appointment as a full member, there are now 3 vacancies for alternates on the commission.
And just,
The expiration of the alternate seats are 2022, 23, and 24. So make a solicitation, anyone listening, there are places to serve on the Conservation Commission.
and that appointment to that full position for Ed is to replace Dan Newton, who resigned.
Okay,
And Sharon, there were were there any positions with terms ending in 2021 that need to be reappointed?
Or not for the conservation?
Okay,
No.
all right, very good.
One was an alternate position, so I just bumped that up automatically.
Was that Dan Newton's position then that was running out in 21? Because they should have had at least one person that was due this year.
It was Dan's position, so
Yeah,
he
okay.
would have been
So-
reappointed, yeah.
So this would be a reappointment or an appointment for Ed for a 3-year term.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to move that we appoint Ed Lucenti to the Zoning Board of Appeals to the Conservation Commission for a term of 3 years. Can I have a second?
This is Rich. I'll second that motion.
Okay, let's, any comments or discussion? All right, let's take our vote. Margaret, aye.
Rich, I.
Mike, aye.
Okay. All right, discussion on implementation of the zoning changes.
Yeah, well, we got quite a little project to do here. We've started, Chris and Nick and I have started talking to Tara. I provided you with some information in your packet about the 3 amendments that we're most concerned with. Pardon me, that they're with the short-term rentals and how to actually implement the changes that were made in the zoning ordinance, because we have not regulated these in any way across town at this point in time. So, Chris, do you want to, as the code enforcement officer, just talk through how you see this going?
Well, many towns do regulate their short-term rentals, and now we have an ordinance that requires us to do that. There are many. So the history here is, as soon as that passed, or actually before it passed, when it started getting talked about as being proposed ordinance, I looked, and we have up to 50 properties in town that are on VRBO or Airbnb or similar platforms. And it is pretty intensive as far as the state or our codes are concerned, in that the rental property, any rental property is held to a higher standard than a multifamily dwelling or even a single family residence as far as life safety and stuff. So this, all rental properties will have to be inspected. So that, just that alone, inspecting all of these things is going to be pretty labor intensive. And then managing the permits and how to deal with violations are all things we've talked about over the last couple of days with Mark and with Tara and Nick as support. So we've looked at some different third-party companies that manage these things. We have a couple demonstrations, or at least one demonstration from a company on Friday, as far as being a clearinghouse, third-party management of this inventory. We're obviously looking for ideas on how to handle this, and we're looking at the capabilities of these companies. If it's just a database that we have access to, and to track the properties, their inspections, their, I guess the enforcement is going to be a major thing, and that is, what do we do if someone calls and says, "Hey, my neighbor's renting their property out and they don't have a permit"? I would kind of envision like a cease and desist and go through the fine process if they don't comply, which we're certainly authorized to do. The other things we have to talk about are the, a lot of working parts here. We have to think about certain associations having more stringent policies, which we certainly as a town would not enforce, but we don't want to send conflicting messages to these property owners in that, yes, you have a permit, but your association also has more stringent rules. So I guess Nick had mentioned the idea of working backwards and having the associations kind of collect or review the applications before the town gets them, and then have the town approve from there. Like I say, there's just so many moving parts to this that it's nothing that, even though the ordinance is passed and it's active now, implementing a system is going to be baby steps, and it's going to take a while. And I don't know if I've missed anything there, but
No, I think that's good, Chris. That, we're looking, as far as the timeline is concerned, I think it's realistic. Maybe we'll see what the third party options are, but I think we're looking at probably a formal institution of the permitting process around 1 July. By the time we get notice, we're going to have to send a letter out to property owners. We're going to need to, and we can't do that until we've really figured out how we're going to set up the system. And then we need to make sure, if we're using a third-party platform, that all that coordination is done before we say that we're live with the system. Otherwise, we're going to have people all over the place with the applications. So, yeah, Mike.
Yeah, a question. In reading amendment number 6, does that mean that each individual unit in the Black Bear Lodge and Golden Eagle needs a separate permit?
I don't know. I think that's part of what you guys need to say, that if it's a condo lodge or a setup like the village condos where there is a front desk, are you going to take that as the application, or are you going to want every single property owner to?
Well, that's what there's a lot to figure out.
There is, and then we need to determine how long are those permits valid for. because the zoning aspect of it is permanent, but are we going to have like a business license so that, Chris, we can set up some sort of tickler so that we go back every year and actually inspect all of these locations again? So there's a lot of questions, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry we don't have more answers at this point.
No. And another big question that I think is going to come up is if we want to go by the basic rule of state guidelines, it's one that you would need a room and meals tax ID number to do
Right.
this. But if someone runs through any of the realty companies and we administer it, we are responsible for paying the room and meals tax. It comes under our number, and the same thing in all the lodges.
Right.
So
So we've got to get how the realty office fits into all of this as well.
or not even that, have a lodge and any third party, meaning that I think All Mountain is the one that takes care of the taxes and the permits for someone who goes through them.
Right. So,
I'd be willing to help, walk through these things with anyone who's looking at it, because it's really complex. And it
yeah.
has to be,
And this also raised, as we were discussing this with Tara, she also pointed out that the town of Waterville Valley has never had a zoning permit application process, which is common in any community that has a zoning ordinance. You really should have, all we have is a building permit process. We don't have so there's a chance for us at the same time that we're doing this short-term rental review here, that we should look at other aspects of the zoning ordinance and come up with a permit process, because the zoning ordinance itself requires the selectmen to set that up. So we're going to work with Tara, and I hope to bring you a more comprehensive regulation set than just the short-term rentals. Because as Chris and I, and we were talking about earlier today, that will help us a lot, and it will help business owners a lot to know whether or not they need to get a permit before the planning board, if we can clarify the zoning aspects of this at the same time.
are there any similar towns where we can look at what they're doing?
Yeah, we
and
already
jump
have,
off on this?
we already have 4 different
Yeah.
suggested systems to look at, so.
Yeah, because the enforcement is going to be, I just don't even know. I don't even have words to figure a start on that one.
Well, that is a major concern.
And then there's,
Yeah.
I mean, you can drill it down even further to the fine details, like, are we going to require a building representative? I mean, I've looked at some of the permits from other towns online doing my research, and there's some, with your permit, you have to specify a building agent that's within 30-minute response time of the property in case something goes wrong, or so there's a bunch of other fine details as we refine this that are going to have to be nailed down and see what we need too. So it is very complex.
So my understanding is that we only get into requiring a permit if somebody is going to be renting their place more than 30 days a year.
For less than 30 days at a time,
Right.
right? For short term.
Yes,
rentals.
yes.
It's less than 30 days at a time for less, or for more than 30 days a year.
Well, there's some vagueness to that, where the definition in amendment number 5 says, in any district, the owner of a dwelling shall be in full compliance with this ordinance, state business code, if they rent their unit as a short-term rental for up to 30 days per calendar year. That doesn't say consecutive. That doesn't say anything else.
That's what I mean. It's, yes,
Yeah.
up to a gross number of 30 days. Yes.
But if someone rents, it's we could go for hours on this. I think we need to really work privately on this and quietly on this to come up with some things where can be acceptable.
Yeah, I think just a couple quick comments. Haven't been involved in this from the planning board perspective. First, I think it was the planning board's intent that this would be very much an iterative process, and that it would take some time to do this correctly. So I don't think timing should be an issue. We just proceed down the path and we accomplish what we need to accomplish as we accomplish it. And, whatever the select board needs to do to make that plain to everybody at this point. I don't know if that's like a permitting holiday until we get our permitting process up and running, or whatever we need to do in that regard. That was the intent. Secondly, and this is more my idea, have we thought about throwing into the mix anyway of hiring a part-time enforcement officer for this and have it be paid through the permitting process? So something else to consider.
Yes.
I think a number of towns, some of the research I've done, do it that way, that they have a part-time permitting officer for short-term rentals, and it's paid for, the position is paid for through the permitting process. So perhaps that will help with the burden on DPS.
But my understanding from just some of the conversation today is that even if you don't require a permit, because you're not going to be renting for less than 30 days, you still have to comply with building requirements for renting, correct?
Yes,
So
life
people
safety.
that are doing a weekend here and there, they're going to have to be inspected and make sure that they're in compliance with the building permits,
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
Well, again, remember where we started from, I think, as Mike
Yes.
Cattell has pointed out. Is we've gone from this is not allowed to now we're trying to get a handle on it. So, but yes, Margaret, I think, as I understand it, you are correct. I think some of this is going to be, maybe the majority of it is going to be self-regulating, I hope, although there will be work here for the town. I mean, if I were renting a place, I'd want to make sure I had the permit for insurance purposes. And I imagine some of these sites will not allow you to advertise if you're not in compliance with all local and state law, and that you'd have to affirm to that. Or even if you're going through a stick and brick real estate office or a front desk, I think similarly you're going to have you're going to want to meet those requirements. So at least I think that's going to be helpful, I guess, is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Go ahead, Margaret.
I'm not sure that, I think it's pretty easy to get your place on VRBO or Airbnb or that kind of thing without ever going through any kind of permitting or inspection or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that may very well be true. I honestly don't know. I guess what I was looking at was, once we have the process up and running, if you don't comply and something happens, I'd hate to go to my insurance company and say, I wasn't complying with the permitting process. That they'll look for any reason, right, to deny a claim. So, like Mike said, this is going to be extremely complex.
Yeah. See,
It
most
wasn't an
people,
intent to move forward quickly.
all people who rent through us have got to provide insurance. And anyone who rents in the lodges has to have insurance on the policy of properties rented to others.
Right.
Where it's going to get tricky is someone who's going to go, hey, I'm not doing it. I didn't do, it's going to be a learning experience, and it's not going to happen overnight. So I think we need to really give some good thought to how we can make something that's easy to comply with, easy to enforce, and easy for everyone to digest.
Agreed. And we're not going to solve it today.
No, no,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, no.
This is the start of the process.
Right.
Okay. So I appreciate your volunteering, Mike, to get involved in this because, you know, you have some direct contact with some of these rentals and some of the issues that may come up. So I think that's going to be very helpful. So thank you for that. Okay. TAP grant application update and letter of support. We all got a chance to read the letter of support and said, okay. So we need to sign that, right, tomorrow?
Yes,
If not
please.
today? Okay.
You don't need to sign it today. Yeah,
All
tomorrow.
right, I'll be by tomorrow morning.
I also just want to thank Tyrell Corporation, the resort, and the elementary school and the WVRA for their letters of support. That's exactly what the state said would be the right way to approach, with the major stakeholders providing letters of support, and they all did. So.
Okay, great.
Good.
Okay. On to some old business, coalition community update.
Yep, we have a lobbyist for the Coalition Communities 2.0. It's Bernstein Shore. They are a registered lobbyist with the state of New Hampshire.
Could you say that again, please, Mark?
Bernstein Shore, SHUR. It's Jim Merrill and Ovid Lamontagne and
Okay.
a couple of other people in the firm. The firm is, it's very diverse. The people who work for the firm come from a variety of backgrounds, Republican, Democrat, a lot of state staff, a lot of experience in the legislature, both the House and the Senate. So I think and then a person like Ovid was actually the education commissioner for the state of New Hampshire. So, they bring a lot to the table for what the coalition communities want. So they are on board. They are in the process of formally registering, and they're already tracking legislation. Right now, the two House bills were either have been defeated for this session, or they were referred to retained within committee. So they'll be discussed over the summer. So the House side of it is all set for the rest of this session. Senate Bill 158 was voted on Friday, and it was voted 3-2 on party lines, inexpedient to legislate, which means that it was basically killed by the committee. But it still needs to be voted on by the entire entire Senate. So that's where we stand right now. The budget is set, has been voted on, is set for the year. We have enough money appropriated for our share as a town.
Mark,
questions?
what happens if none of these bills pass? Doesn't at some point in time the court step in?
That's a possibility, and part of our contract with Bernstein Shore is basically an on-call legal service. They do have Ovid and other lawyers available. If it goes to the court system, we will have a place and a representative for that eventuality. But that's not part of their basic service at this point.
Okay. All righty.
The state revenue numbers, I found out yesterday, are very good right now. There was, I think it was $25 or $27 million surplus that they had not been anticipating. So hopefully that's going to take some of the pressure off of the state needing to go to the statewide education property tax for funding, hopefully.
And what about all the money that's coming in through the America Rescue Plan?
Yeah, that's even more taking the pressure off. And I think it's going to be harder for proponents of using the SWEP to get it through this year. I think we're just going to have to be ready that when these special amounts of money, especially from the feds, dries up, we're going to go back to the statewide property tax.
Okay.
But it looks good right now.
Yeah. Any other questions on that? Okay, capital project update.
Yeah, I think we talked about everything so far. The wastewater treatment plant, we just need to get the contractor here. Well 2 is ready to go, so we can put it online anytime we want. We won't do it until we get a little bit slower on the use side, right, Dylan? And bring it in on a really slow period and make sure we get the chemical feed pumps balanced and working correctly. But in an emergency, if something were to happen to pump 4 right now, we could put 2 into operation, right, Dylan? Okay. And then the well 2 and 3 project, we're continuing to work on the engineering side of that. The other thing on the wastewater treatment plant is we have a meeting next week with U.S. Department of Agriculture for the USDA loan program, state DES for the statewide reimbursement fund, the SRF loan program, with the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank and with Joe Ducharme. And we're going to talk through different options for the town for short-term and long-term borrowing in support of the project. So we are going to hopefully, when we come out of that meeting Wednesday afternoon, have a more definitive plan for how to approach the financing that we can talk to town meeting about in May.
Okay. Did we get any volunteers from town to assist us in making some of these decisions?
I have 2 people who have a financial background who have filled out volunteer forms that I will reach out to next week as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right. Vote on the water, sewer, and trash rate changes. Did we get any feedback from the public since we had our public meeting?
I have not heard of any. No emails have come in to me.
No. None of the other selectmen heard anything either? I know I haven't.
No.
No. Okay, so what do we need to do here, Mark? What do we need to say to take this vote?
I think the motion, if you could take it in 2 parts, the first being the trash fees, to move them from $5 per month to $10 per month, and then to increase the commercial pull rate by 10%. And then the water and sewer rates would be a separate vote.
Okay, so I move that we change the trash fee from $5 to $10 a month, and that we increase our commercial rates for water and sewer by 10%.
No, for trash by 10%.
But for trash, sorry, for trash by 10%. Can I have a second?
This is Rich. I'll second that, perhaps with the amendment that with the $5 to $10 is for residential.
For residential per month, yes.
Per month, right?
Okay, will any further discussion on the rate changes? Okay, we'll take a vote then. This is Margaret. I vote aye.
Rich, I.
Mike, aye.
Okay,
And that
And
will
we-
go out, that will go out with the April bill. That's effective January, in effect as of January 1 for the first quarter.
okay.
Yeah.
And then we want to look at our water sewer.
Yeah, and what we have proposed to you is a 15% increase in 2021 as of January 1st, 2021. And that's in the amounts of the revised fee schedule that I sent out to you, which is actually an appendices to the water and sewer regulations. So that would be a 15% increase to the current water and sewer rates for 2021, with the intent to review it annually for the next 3 years as well.
And is that the same for residential and commercial?
Yes, that's an across the board 15% increase.
Okay, so for water and sewer rates, I move that we approve the 15% increase for residential and commercial rates for water and sewer beginning January 1, 2021. Can I have a second?
Yes, Mike.
Margaret, you have to include that we're going to revisit the rates yearly for the next 3 years with the anticipation of raising 5% per year.
Okay, so I will amend my motion to also say that we are going to be reviewing the rates for the next 3 years to see how they go. And we may be raising those rates 5% per year for the 3 years following.
I'll
Okay,
second that motion.
all right. Any discussion? Okay, we'll take our vote. This is Margaret. I vote aye.
Rich, I.
Mike, aye.
Okay.
Margaret, can I just answer one question in the chat room that Mike Capel had?
Yeah.
Mike, no, the issue could still come up in 2022 because the bills that have either been retained could come up or new legislation could be introduced in 2022. So this is not a done deal until 2023, as far as I'm talking about education property tax.
Okay. All right. Next piece of old business, the Ray Center conceptual consultation with the planning board on the pavilion and preschool.
Yeah, Rich, you can talk to this as well, but we did a presentation to the planning board on the plan for the preschool and the construction of the pavilion. The planning board's guidance back to the Ray Center after that presentation was that there was nothing other than a regular building permit required for the pavilion because it's a structure that will be built on town land for public purpose. So it is not a permitted change of use under the zoning ordinance. So we will work with Chris and the contractor and make sure that we do get the building permit that's required for that. As far as the preschool was concerned, after discussing it, the planning board has asked the Ray Center to submit a minor site plan review application. And Leah and I are in the process of completing that application, and we'll get that turned in for an agenda item at the April planning board meeting.
And that's basically for the fence around the,
Yeah, well, the fence isn't a permitted thing. It's for the change of use. They're considering the preschool to be, although it's a children-based program, it is a minor change of use. And so they would like to have it go through the minor site plan review process.
Oh, okay.
I,
right.
you know, and I think, you know, we could make the argument that it's another children's program that, just like the summer camp program or anything else that we run from the cottage, but it's a little more involved because there's state licensing and everything else. So I'm fine
Yeah,
with it.
and also way back when the cottage was first given to the town, the intent was that it was going to be used as a daycare center, right? Childcare center?
Yeah, childcare center. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll bring that up as part of the application process. But a minor site plan review application, right, Rich, is very minimal.
Yeah,
and
correct.
shouldn't take very long at all.
Right. No, I think you've covered everything, Mark.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Not a big deal.
All right. Board concerns and directives? Anything from anyone?
Nope.
Okay. We had, how about privilege of the floor number 2? Anybody out there want to bring something up that we haven't discussed yet? Okay. Correspondence. Mark, you want to review the information, Ray, the American Rescue Plan?
The American Rescue Plan, it appears, although we haven't received anything formal from DRA or the Treasurer of the State of New Hampshire, it appears that we're going to be eligible for some additional funding under the ARP. So we will wait and integrate that into our revenues as need be. I don't know if we will get that official word prior to town meeting, but you know, we'll keep you apprised as far as when we get official word from the state of New Hampshire.
Hey, Mark,
Yes, Mark.
is there any way we can proactively lobby for more of this money? I looked at the number that is on there, and it was $26,000?
Yeah, 23 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there
20.
any way is there some way we can funnel a request towards the top to say, listen, we need money for, you know, I would talk, you know, about the wastewater treatment plant, especially, and the amount of money it's cost us to keep our drinking water and get things back online there.
Yeah, unfortunately, as the federal government goes, we're a small rural town of 224 people, and this money is doled out through the bureaucracy based on population, and the only population they want to hear about is the 2010 census right now.
Okay.
So everything is being handed out, and it's just like that original COVID money that we received, you know, where we got $4,500 or whatever, $5,000, whatever it was, and smaller towns than us providing less services because they have a larger population, you know, they're getting tens of thousands or up to $100,000. So unfortunately, we got no way to change.
I've forgotten, but does the 2020 census do us much good in terms of population?
I don't even know what those numbers are yet. We haven't been,
heard yet.
they haven't been ratified, I don't think.
Right.
You know, that might be something to talk about to our lobbying firm, is I think some of the other towns who are in our position have seen a large influx of new people to their communities. And, you know, maybe that should deserve a current look back as opposed to looking back 2 years ago or 10 years ago, because we're in a totally different environment.
Absolutely. And that's what I've argued to the state. And, you know, it's the argument we made with USDA.
I've got it, but we have this high-powered lobbying firm who has the ears of these people who actually can get things done.
Okay.
And I don't think we're going to be the only ones going in with this argument.
Right.
And the school will get some money as well, correct?
The school could stand to receive a lot of money. So far with COVID, the schools received $81,500. And
And that's based on current school population,
current
correct?
school population and other that they've incurred. The good thing about the ARP is funding for schools. There was a news article, right, Rich,
Right,
through
yeah.
that just came out that the school could get 4 or 5 times or more of what they've already received, because there was a significant amount of money that was allocated specifically for school districts in New Hampshire. That was a huge number.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they could be getting hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I don't mean to interrupt, but that number is $350 million.
Yeah,
And has been allocated to New Hampshire schools.
yeah.
Now, I don't know how much we'll get. I got to talk to some people tomorrow, but that's the number, a huge number.
So,
That's good news, Mike.
yeah.
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 Okay. Great. All right. Anything else before we go into non-public?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, let's go into non-public then at 4:24 p.m. And we'll say goodbye to everybody.